Hello and welcome to the very first episode of Making Towns. I'm your host, Bobby Davies. In my short time working in the wrestling industry, I've already done hundreds of miles just getting around, and I'm going to be talking to some of the best wrestlers in the country about life on the road and life in the ring. The very first episode, I am joined by Michael Oku, the master of the Half Crab. We're going to get straight into it, but before that, some would say Michael deserves a special introduction.
Some would say there will never be a cruiserweight champion better than him. Some would also say that no one respects women more than him.
Some would say he's on a first-name basis with Jericho.
Some would say Undisputed champion. But he is officially the greatest British wrestler of all time.
Some would say he is the greatest member of Destination Everywhere ever. Some would say he is the best unsigned wrestler in the world today. That's what some would say.
Some would say he's not only the master of the half crab, but also the master of mind games.
Yeah!
He's the master of the half crab, Michael Oku.
Where have we been? Where are we going?
Well, we're currently in traffic. Where we're coming from is the London School of Wrestling. I took some sessions in the morning, 4 hours of training. I love taking those sessions, teaching people. And where are we off to? Are we off to yours?
Yeah, you're going to go, well, you're not going to meet him. You've met him already. We're going to go meet my baby.
Yeah, the baby. Yeah, well, we're going to try. I'm trying to build a relationship with the baby. Make sure that he starts to remember me. That's the key.
That's your key for everyone, isn't it? They need to remember you.
They must remember me. It's a design flaw in my personality. I need people to remember me. Hence my professional wrestling career.
It's why you Frosbury flop and land on like hard wooden floors.
There you go.
Just so they remember.
Just so they remember that guy that misses his divers 6 times out of 10. That's the guy.
Right, so the main reason I wanted to do this, you are episode 1, so let's kind of break it down a little bit, is wrestling. There is a lot of fucking travel involved. I've only started to ramp up my work in wrestling recently, and all I do, feel like I do, is drive everywhere. Like, I'm constantly in the car, moving around. So, like, let's go start there. So, who do you normally, like, get lift with? Who do you drive around with?
Normally, if it isn't Amira that's driving, it's Dave Francisco that are driving. They are my 2 go-to drivers. My hired drivers are my girlfriend and my fierce rival, Dave Francisco. So I'm always in their cars. Great cars, by the way. I'll compliment their cars. Very comfy, always spacious. We always try and make sure that we minimize the chance of having 3 people in the back. If I'm going to be sitting in the back, I shouldn't be because of that. I should be in the shotgun all the time.
You don't call it quick enough, mate. You don't get it.
That's the problem. That's the problem. But yeah, those are my 2.
David Francisco, he has a nice car now. His old car, however,
it was a struggle.
Yeah, man. I got in that car a couple of times. That was tight when you were just the only passenger.
Yeah. When it was just 2 people, it was a struggle. I think the time that he said, "Oh, maybe it's time to give up," was when the roof was it?
It was leaking.
It would leak a few times. It'd be peeling off. It had to be taped together. That's when he was like, it's time to consider maybe a different.
I feel like that's the like car representation of British wrestling.
Oh my god,
it's held together with tape. Yeah,
that's it. That is the scene. How would you describe the scene? That's patched together. It's moving. It's moving along. It can get you to where you want to be, but it's rocky.
Controversial question then. You got Amira, you got David Francisco. Who's a better driver?
David.
Really?
There's no controversy there. There's no controversy there. David will be patient with his driving, and he has no issues not rushing at any point, or if there's a car that is in his way, he's gonna just patiently wait for the car to start moving. He's not gonna honk or beep. If there's a car behind him that's honking and beeping and say, "Hey, start moving," he's like, "No, I'm gonna stay where I am. I'm gonna stop moving." Amira,
she's a feisty one, isn't she?
do you know what it is? I didn't even realize that she was that there were issues with her driving until I noticed other people were in the car with us. There was one time we were picking up super surprised to the copper box Giselle Shaw from the airport. And it was only then that I realized by Giselle's reactions how many times she does sudden stops while driving. The amount of sudden stops constantly while driving. Any light, any here, changing the gears, just like, boom. That's when I realized, oh, maybe this isn't the best driving. It keeps you on edge if you want to find a positive. I'm always going to try and find a positive.
The funniest thing about that is you've never noticed.
I
Like,
didn't
obviously,
notice.
you don't just take wrestling trips together. You are a couple, so you go a lot of places together in the car, right? And
Yeah. And a lot of times it's just like, whoa. I'm like, oh, God, what's... And now I notice it. I didn't realize that was the whole time, all these years, that I would just be randomly in the car and I'm just like having to brace myself and clutch my abs in. Oh, that's just driving. That's just cars.
Michael's got a neck injury. Was it a Frosby flop? Nah.
No,
Whiplash.
No, it was
Whiplash from the car.
Whiplash, no back bumps at all.
So these two are your primary ways of getting around, but you can include anyone else in this.
Right.
Talking about like who's got the good driving tunes, who's got the shit driving tunes.
Ooh. So I think, if we're talking out of the two, David's very happy to give the orcs, as their kids used to say, give the orcs, it's pronounced now it's Bluetooth or whatever, but give the orcs to whoever it is in the car and is happy to let them to play what they want. But his own choice, I don't know, I think I prefer his over Amira's, because his one is like, it's popular music. It can vary from genre to genre. It could be a bit of rock. It could be a bit of R&B.
He likes a lot of like indie rock, doesn't he?
Yeah, he's a big fan of indie rock. He's a big fan. He said he's liking the new Linkin Park.
Can't say I agree with that, but yeah, cool.
The new singer. He's liking the voice. Amira loves comedy music. Which I guess is apt, isn't it? As I say it, it's like people will be like, "Of course she does."
She has to take inspiration from somewhere. She's a very funny athlete.
Her favorite band is Steel Panther.
Steel Panther.
That's her favorite.
The joke, like hair metal band, isn't it?
Yes,
Yeah.
that is her favorite band. So that gives you an insight of the kind of music that she's listening to. Crazy Ex-Girlfriend is a play, and there's songs from there that's on her playlist. So yeah, that's iffy. Me though, when I'm able to get the music, I'm not saying I have a great taste in music. I was in a car with Vaughn Vertigo in Canada, Canadian sensation himself.
I'll splice in some images of Vaughn here. He's a fucking
Splice him
demon.
in, him doing some of that, loads of that. Maybe him attacking me. There's some of that too.
Triple threat. With Nino and Mills
With
at
Mills.
Purpose. Excellent match. Go watch it on YouTube.
Go watch it. Look at that plug. Now I see what this is for. But he started to play some tunes, his Spotify playlist or whatever, and he turned to me and he said, "Is your music taste completely poisoned because of pro wrestling too?" I was like, yes, there's too much saliva. There's too much 3 days grace for the normal average bear.
Is it all the fucking like menu tunes from the wrestling games? And
Yes.
Yeah.
Too much. It's too much. So it's a mix of like Kendrick Lamar, and then randomly it just goes to 3 days grace. It doesn't. The two don't match up at all.
Make me a superstar.
Yeah, well, there you go. Yes, this lovely tune. So yeah, I can't say mine's the best, but at the same time, for a wrestling car, if you're playing pay-per-view, 2001 pay-per-view music and SmackDown vs. Raw songs, you usually get a pop from people.
What I do love, shout out to the wrestling's lads. You are still the champion. Of the guest in the intro. I showed my wife this, you winning this. She said, "Do you think you could beat it?" And then she did a tester on me, and I did pretty well. So this is a call out to the wrestling's lads.
Wow.
I'll come down.
So
I'll see if I can take Michael Oku.
Cultaholic, they put out a video recently of one of their, I don't know, one of their team getting the Guinness World Record for most theme songs said in a certain amount of time. I got tagged. That's how I knew about this, because they know I'm the champ. And I watched the video, and I'm not kidding. And I say this with a bit of equity because I've got a title. I watched and I said, I can break that world record. So, you want to talk about shout-outs? Guinness, Cultaholic.
I'll tag everyone when this goes out.
Yeah, tag Guinness. Just the actual beer, not even Guinness World Records. Get me on there. I can break a world record. I want to be a world record holder.
That's your next T-shirt as well, right?
Oh my god!
5-star Michael Oku Guinness World Record holder.
Can you imagine? But the Guinness World Record will be on top. It'll be above. It'll be above the accolades in the ring.
You're on the road like a fuck ton, pulling into service stations, pulling over in towns. Whether it's by the venue, whether it's in a service station, what should you go to if you can get it? What's your food of choice?
So I can't go for Leon.
You can go for Leon if you want.
Well, do you know what I tell you?
Around the corner from Merton Art Space, there is a Leon.
There is
that is a choice of a lot of the wrestlers.
But we're talking road trips. So I tell you what, it was only maybe 2 weeks ago that stopped at services that had a Leon, and I've never seen that before. So only recently have I kind of gone into Leon, and it's all about trying to eat as healthy as possible whilst being a professional wrestler on the road. And if you haven't meal prepped, I think Leon is the best choice, and I always try and get some kind of a wrap or a rice box. A wrap because it's easy to bring into the car. I would choose a rice box if we're sitting down, but I'm thinking about the car, thinking about the driver, so it's like a crunchy Korean chicken wrap. However, I feel like that's such a rare place to choose that I have to think about what my order is if there's a KFC or a McDonald's.
Yeah, what's your order there? I spitballed this idea with a couple of the other wrestlers I know, and they all were like, they didn't even go for a healthy option. They were all like, oh yeah, like a bag of Haribo from the service stations at KFC.
Oh my god.
Man, no.
Okay, Haribo's ridiculous. At least attempt to say that you're trying to be healthy by saying you're having a mega bucket from KFC.
Not everyone has a legit claim to be the top wrestler in the country, Mike. You know.
Well, listen,
they're stocking off in their Haribo. You're being healthy. It makes sense, right?
Look, yeah, but the Haribos at service, they're like £3.50 for those Haribos.
Oh, it's not even about the content. It's the money.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm looking at. So I'm thinking, like, why are you getting? They're so expensive in the services anyway. You might as well spend it on actual food. I think if there's a KFC, I'm getting the mighty bucket for one. I'm making sure there's gravy. I love some gravy. I'm getting as much chicken in there. I'm getting some gravy. If it's McDonald's. Oh, I think I always try and go for. Oh man, I love the quarter pounder. I don't know why. I love the quarter pounder. Extra pickles, extra onions. Amira put me onto that.
Pickles, you're a person after my own heart.
Well, there you go.
Yeah,
if you add it especially if you add those as extra and you're not in a rush, that normally means it's a little hack for everyone. That normally means that they're making the burger from fresh. I say from fresh. They're not just picking it up from the thing. They very rarely get one that's already been made, open it up from the wrapping, put the things in there, because they get a new one. So if you want a fresh burger, offer extra stuff. There's
Top tip.
You're welcome.
Please tell me that I can't, that I won't, that I fail, that I'll never make it out, yeah. Please tell me all the bad, not the good, fill my head full of every single doubt, yeah. Please say any negative thoughts, I pop off when I hear people say I cannot. I get off to the thought of doing everyone wrong, I won't stop to the top, so you better back off and get lost. I'ma stay loud, stay proud, never running out, never heading south. I'll be straight now, call it what I'm out, can't put me down. I'll be getting here, you can never doubt, not what I'm about. Have your fucking cloud, it be raining now, I keep making sound.
Like, talking to distance, you've done some fair travelling now in the last 2 years or so. You've been to the US, you've been to Mexico, Germany. But let's focus on the UK first. Mm-hmm. What's your furthest regular spot in the UK? Where are you going out to? I know you're pro wrestling North a lot.
Yeah, North would be the one. I think North is the one in terms of within England. The longest drive that I've been part of is going to North Wrestling. It's 6 hours on a good day. It's 6 hours on a good day. So you're going from London to Newcastle. It's the bottom of the country to the top. So naturally it's going to take a long time. It's why I try my best. I don't want to put that journey on anyone. So I try my best to ask, please, I would like you to get me a train, not just because it's quicker, but so that someone doesn't have to succumb to doing that long drive. So that's probably the longest one. But as you say that, when I went to Canada earlier this year, 6 hours is just a normal drive. Well, anywhere in America, for all these wrestlers, 6 hour drives is nothing. We complain about if a drive is 3 hours, we're like, oh my God, this is going to be the worst weekend ever. But I went on to, I need to remember the towns. It was Toronto to, I don't know if it was Vancouver.
I say so. I know I went to a WrestleCore show in Vancouver when I was over there, and I know Vaughn is a regular there. He wasn't on the show I was at. He was actually in the UK when I was there.
Wow.
But yeah, I know there. I don't know if you went out to Vancouver for WrestleCore or anything like that.
It wasn't WrestleCore. I did Smash and I did C4 where I got to defend my title at C4. I'm trying to remember where they are. I think one is in Ottawa and then the other is in Toronto. I don't know if we went show to show, but the drive we did, it was one of the longest drives I've ever been on. But that's just, hey, this is the drive we do to get to these shows. This is a regular thing to get to a show in Canada because it's so huge, so spread out. And that's just the norm. So we take for granted how relatively close everything is here.
I think there's a reason behind that though. Like in the UK, our roads are not built to sustain the volume of cars that are now on them.
Traffic.
They're like the roads are built for the volume of traffic from like 30 years ago. Right. So we get like a 3 hour drive always becomes a 4 hour drive, right?
Yeah.
Whereas in Canada, you say it's 6 hours, it's going to be 6 hours.
It will be 6 hours.
You know exactly what you're in for.
Yeah.
You sit in for the ride, you know what it's going to be.
And there wasn't any traffic, to be fair, to say that. It was just go. It was just go, 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 go. If you wanted to stop, you could stop for sure, but yeah, it was go, go. For instance, where, especially in London, everybody knows the nightmare of London. Even if you're traveling to a city outside of London, the hardest part is getting out of London. Or if you're coming into London, once you're in, it's trying to get in and wiggle your way through all the traffic. That sometimes, I've heard from many people, is the longest part of the journey.
Oh man, like if you got a weekday show trying to get out with the rush hour and stuff.
Good night.
Yeah. Did you see any roadside nature in Canada? When we drove, we saw a bear sitting on the roadside. It was amazing.
So that's terrifying. We went to this lovely, I don't even know if you can't even call it a theme park, but it was some place that specialized in apples. Everything was apple based. There was apple tea, there was candied apples, there was apple pastries. Everything was about apples. And me and Vaughn took a photo in front of a gigantic apple, which will be part of my, like, if I do like a end of year album, that will be in there. And it said, warning, bears. And I thought, surely not. And I believe he said, yep.
Do you not have your bear spray on you?
No.
Canada, man, you gotta have bear spray on you.
Bear spray.
Yeah, man.
Here we are dealing with Raid bug spray.
We went out to go take some photos of the sunset, and we bumped into a couple doing the same thing, and they were like, "Yeah, we've got our bear spray." Like, why are you still fucking here then, man? Like,
I couldn't do it. That's it. But that's the thing. In just North America in general, so then you can add Canada as well to America. There's always that. As a wrestler, you're like, I guess you kind of have to get there to, quote unquote, make it. All the big companies are there, but then you just hear bears, snakes, hurricanes, tornadoes, earthquakes. You're like, you know what? Maybe little old jolly old England isn't too bad.
Maybe Will Ospreay's got the right idea. Live in England, fly out, and then come back home.
Yeah, I can only imagine what the travel that could be, just being on planes all the time, because just sometimes getting on a plane every couple of months is a slog. So doing it weekly, couldn't imagine.
It depends how much money they're paying you there, right?
Well, maybe that can help, and that probably helps for sure.
So you were about to like pop off just before COVID, right? You were doing a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
And it felt like, as an observer, you were about to kind of hit your stride then.
Mm-hmm.
And then obviously COVID shut everything down for in excess of a year. And you kind of come back, and do you feel like you're having to build up again?
I felt like I've exceeded where I was. I needed to, yeah. It was a whole rebuilding thing for everyone, not just myself as a wrestler. But it definitely required everyone to... I needed to remember how to wrestle again, let alone when we talk about rebuilding my stock and everything that comes with that. Just being completely out of practice of being a professional wrestler was tough. When 2020 hit, I feel like the last thing I did, there was like maybe a couple more shows after it, but the Valentine's Day show where, where I won, I thought I saw a squirrel. I thought, no, please back away.
It's possible. There's woods both sides of us.
Yeah. No bears though. But yeah, 2020, won the cruiserweight title. Will won the heavyweight title in the same night. And the idea was that we're going to do this, a tour of the UK with new venues up and down. And I got a calendar list, and so excited to do that. And especially when you look at all the major European promotions, other than WXW, I got given from Progress, Rev Pro, and OTT. They just gave me, hey, here are all our dates for the year. Tell us which ones you can do. So it was going to be scheduled to be the biggest year of my career, just based on the fact that if you name the biggest promotions in Europe, they had given me free reins to just pick and choose the dates all the way to December. And I already had a very full diary as the year started. So I was going into it very excited. And then, of course, that darn pandemic hit. And like I said, coming out of that was, did some empty arena shows, but coming back to fans again and having to rebuild trust as well as just the excitement for professional wrestling. And the only horn I'll toot about myself is the world before the pandemic, the world of wrestling was talking about the UK scene. When we came back from the pandemic, no one was talking about the UK scene until I wrestled Will Ospreay at York Hall. That's when the world paid attention again.
I was there, mate. It was incredible. I bet you, if you go back, you can hear me screaming your name on the thing.
Please, I will. Maybe I will. But that was it. That was the first time that people were like, "Oh, actually, okay. It seems like maybe things are beginning to pop off again in the UK scene." So that's the only thing I'll like pat myself on the back of what myself and Will and Amira as well were able to create that night.
And your brother and your
family, the whole family, the whole thing about it made it a special match that people still bring up to this day.
And then what was beautiful about that, and I think you're right, Meltzer paid attention to it, but what was really good about that is you got to bookend it with Will's final indie appearance. Mm-hmm. And you almost in that match told another story where you'd fight like you brought yourself up to his level, you pulled his shoulders off the mat when you could have won, which is something he did to you earlier. It was a beautiful bookend, I think, to that story. And it does feel like for Rev Pro and then for British Wrestling that was kind of post-pandemic, this is the rebuild. And it was like head and shoulders was you and Will Ospreay who were telling that story again.
Yeah, no, I mean, of course he is the biggest part about why the scene was able to get to the healthy state that it is now.
Well,
because
then you have to leave it to someone, man, and that was you.
Of course, and which is a cool thing, a cool position to be in. But I just think about the name value he has at the time, and it's even bigger now. But even at that time, it was huge. He's wrestling for New Japan regularly. He was the IWGP World Heavyweight Champion. By no means does he need to wrestle in Huntington. But he did. He did. So him deciding, because again, he's under no contractual obligation to do so. So him deciding to still be around and wrestle the indie dates that he can as part of Rev Pro. He did, I think, a little bit of OTT. He even did one PW. But all that helped get the name value on the UK scene, get eyes on the UK scene, and then shine a light on the talent that are on the come up, and the talent like myself, like a Luke Jacobs, and all the people he got in the ring with. It allowed people to pay attention and think, okay, what's going on here? Okay, maybe we'll take a look.
Do you think Will felt that as a responsibility post-COVID?
I think so. He does. He cares a lot. He cares a lot about the scene being healthy, and that there's something for people to to be part of, even though he's not, even when he's gone. So I know that it was important for him to continue to help and nourish us as talent, and just try and get more people in and create new fans, create more fans. I know that was huge for him. So I have that same mentality, and I feel like there's a lot of people that have that mentality, and that's what is going to make the scene stay as healthy as it is, and go to bigger heights, so to speak.
Let's talk about your villain arc at Purpose.
Oh, right.
I've heard a review podcast say that this villain arc should be studied by other people who want to do it.
To be studied.
Yeah, man. I'll try to find the link where they said it, but they were saying that this is one of their favourite things they've seen from someone who they normally only exclusively see as a face.
Right.
And you got them to hate you almost instantly with one promo.
Right. Which promo was it? Did you mean like in the initial, or
yeah,
was
that
one
first
that they
one
saw?
You were doing. I think you were sat in the middle of the ring in your jeans. Oh no, I'm thinking of the one where the rescheduled show after the Queen died.
Oh, okay. So that's so interesting with Purpose, because when it got posed to me that it was David that had the idea of like, I'd like you to be a heel here. It's like, okay, cool. And I think he said like jeans and everything, because I did it for a time at Battle Pro in 2019, and he said like, I want that guy. I was like, sure. Because I knew he's gonna give me like all the dates, I asked him, can we go on a journey with me turning heel, so it's not just the first time I come out through the curtain and I'm just like middle fingers to the crowd, so they know that this is who they're supposed to boo. I feel like I prefer if it feels natural for them to boo me and dislike me, if I give them a reason other than that one that's not cheap. Yeah. Yes, if you just say, screw you, I don't like you people, they will not like you. They'll boo. Congratulations. But I wanted them to actually think that they're making a conscious decision to dislike me more than it's me telling them to dislike me. So really the first Purpose show feels like summer. I'm wrestling to Reese, and I thought, let me have it there where I'm confusing people, where I come out with the jeans, I come out with the music, but I kind of wrestle very similar to how I do wrestle where they see me wrestle everywhere else. But they're just like, that's odd, that's not what he normally wears. What's going on here? And we slowly introduce it. But I say slowly introduce it was my idea. I think by then the second show, I was wrestling Fabio, or it was maybe Rex. And by that point, they were right with whoever I was wrestling. They were right behind them.
That means you just named two wrestlers that are impossible to hate.
And that helped big time. So them helping me by just being likable, and me being the antagonist to their likability, really helped me just dive in and bite into working on me being a heel as best as I can.
I think this is what that review meant, though. It's the character study of heel. I know this is kind of dead name for you now, but in my head, that version of you, that's the OJMO.
Right. That
prick, that's the OJMO, right? And then Michael Oku is you, who you are really, and kind of the presentation you are as a face. Mm. Yeah, that's how I've always thought of it. Like, he's like your Jekyll and Hyde.
That's a great way to put it, in the sense of, I really want it to be that not like I'm completely transforming into, I'm the same human being with the same experiences in wrestling, but there's just a different motivation. There's a slight tweak which makes it completely different. So I've still had all these matches that I've had. I've had the pro wrestling, like the world traveledness, but I'm now expecting to be respected from it. I'm demanding respect for everything I've done. And if there's not the amount of respect that I feel I've earned for gracing you with my presence in this library, I won't understand it. And now I have a problem with you. And I've convinced myself in my mind that I've done nothing wrong. It's the people, the problem. the people of this library are the problem because I've done nothing wrong. I've been so gracious to wrestle in front of you. Surely you should be happy that the Michael Oku is wrestling, the guy that's done so many things. And that's not a likable quality.
Well, yeah, what I like about it is it did always feel like that character was like, I've come here to your little fucking library, right, to wrestle, to give you, you know, the best wrestler in the UK. And, you know, okay, I had to take a low road because I was in the thing, and now you boo me for it. Like, come on, man.
Yeah.
And, like, again, against Rex, he did leave a boot print on his face, which I'll never forget.
Yeah, but, you know, I just didn't, you know, just a little bit aggressive. But, yeah, I do remember that. I think he sent me a photo of him at work. Of somebody he's at the desk, and it's just from the bird's eye view, someone's taken a photo of the boot print from my trainers on his neck, and I felt bad, but it helped me get over the heel. So I appreciate it.
I loved it, man. Like your different theme song and stuff, which, as far as I'm aware, you can obviously correct me if I'm wrong, you only use that theme at purpose as well.
So again, that's the. I think again, when David was saying this is who I want the guy that was. From Battle Pro here, I think it's mainly because he wanted to hear that theme music because he really loves that theme music and he is jealous of the fact that I found it.
If he'd have found it first, he'd have been out to that a long time ago.
He is one of 4 people that they've told me that they wish they could use that music.
Who else is on that list?
Joshua James and 2 of my trainees they've asked if they can use it, and I'm like, I can't.
Mate, it's on my fucking playlists. You know, on Spotify, you can add your own tunes.
You can add local,
that song is on top of my playlist. It is a banger.
It is incredible. So I found it. I found it in a oh my gosh, it's 2014. 10 years ago. I found that song 10 years ago in a random wrestling forum that was specifically for wrestling themes. It was just a community where we tried to find, I say we, but I just watched people and downloaded the themes and listened to them, where they try and find wrestling themes. It's called XY Lot Themes. And it was so funny because the Pro Wrestling East promoter regularly frequented that forum. We found out about each other recently. But Drew McIntyre re-debuted on SmackDown in 2008 or 9. But before they re-debuted him, he was using some music on house shows, and everybody back then was excited for his return to TV back on the internet. So there was lots of footage of using, you know, having his entrance, and he used this certain song, and I'm like, that song, it sounds very, very catchy. It's called "It's Too Late." The lyrics are the same, but it was a very weird version of it. It was almost like it was influenced by the Police. It was very much sounded like a Police ripoff.
Oh yeah.
There's a song apparently. I actually need to remember the name of the song, and we'll play it, and you'll hear the two side by side, and it'll sound like, oh, perfectly. That's where they came from. And I was just like, oh man, I really like that song. I never thought if I was a wrestler I'd use that. I just thought it's really catchy and very unique. Apparently he hated it, so they changed it, and he eventually landed on Broken Dreams, which is also an incredible song.
Very good song.
But that song that he used that was Police influenced got remade and was used in a WWE Films movie in like the background somewhere. And someone was like, hey, I've obtained this song, and it was used in WWE Films, and it's a remake. We're trying to find the full version of that Drew McIntyre song that sounds like the Police. We can't find it, but I have found through means this remake by Sahaj Tickerton, who's also done an acoustic version of Randy Orton's Voices, and it's on Spotify. And I listened to it, and I was like, I even put in the forum, I said, I think this is the greatest song I've ever heard. And I'm like, friggin' 20 at this point. This is the greatest song I've ever heard. And in my head, I said, if I was ever going to be a wrestler, I would use this song. And when I had my first match ready and in the can, going to happen for Progress, because I knew this was a WWE produced song, and at the time Progress was in bed with WWE, I asked if I could use it. They're like, no, we can't. We have to use a specific library of songs. I was like, rats. And then when the opportunity time came, I said, I'm using it. And every time I've had the chance to, now I've associated with me being a heel. But hey, who's to say? Who's to say I won't use it again in a babyface setting somewhere where it makes sense?
It's too late to say you're sorry.
Also got your other theme, the main one you use Rev Pro pretty much everywhere else, the Mikey Ruckus, right?
Oh, yes.
And that is, you explained to me, we're both, this is a thing we've bonded over in the past, and JJ Lynch. We are all big fans of Christian.
Big fans of Christian. We're Christian fans.
We are in the coalition.
We're in the coalition. It's incredible. Man, I love that song, man. I love that song so much. Specifically considering how I was kicking and screaming about being given a new song. So, back onto that progress thing. I went to use It's Too Late. John Bryant was like, no, it's got to be from this library. And I looked through this library of songs that, like, a lot of it was from, like, independent artists and stuff that had been handed in, so they just had a few library. And, look, it's progress wrestling. It's 2017. It's indie wrestling. So, most songs in there are rock, punk rock, indie rock in this library. So I was like, I can't. None of these sound like they'll fit me for my very first Fresh Wrestling match. So I'm just having to filter through. There was about 5 songs that had a little bit of like rapping or singing and not just complete like screamo.
Yeah.
And so there were 4 songs that had a bit of rapping in. One of them was like Gold Dust theme music. It was just Gold Dust theme music, but someone was rapping over it. And I was like, how can we use it? Anyway, okay.
Wait, that sounds great. I want to hear that.
If I can find it, I'll try. If that Dropbox folder still exists, I'm going to find it. And then a song came in there. There was a song in there where it's like, there was a woman singing the chorus, and then there was people rapping the verses. I was like, okay, this will do. A woman singing a chorus reminds me exactly of Waterproof Blonde, Just Close Your Eyes, Christian theme music, which is an all-timer. And that's that. I was like, okay, I can think about Christian. This is great. I can think about Christian. It's got a bit of hip-hop in it. This works. I say it's got hip-hop. It's a guy called Dave from Hull that is rapping.
Hey man, you can't diss on Dave from Hull.
I'm not dissing him, because that music took me a long time, for a long way and very far. People still have sentimental value to it because the music I had for a long time. Then I changed my music to a different song from a different library, a Warner Chappell library called And the Crowd Screams, which again, that library has so many there's so many Wrestlers theme songs from the 2000s that WWE just wouldn't even get Jim Johnson to make a theme. They'll just pluck it from this library. I think like Brian Kendrick's themes in there. Just all these sorts of songs are in there. And so I was just, this was the new library that Progress had to use for when they're on the WWE network. Those are the songs that they would be authorized to use from this library. I hadn't even made my proper main show debut for Progress yet, but John Briley was kind enough to give me this folder. It's almost like he knew I cared so much about music. And I'm sifting through. Honestly, there are probably about 10,000 songs in that library, but of course you could search with like keywords and everything. So again, I searched for singing, female singing, and whatever, and rock rap, female singing. Because I'm just saying in my head, I'm like, okay, rock rap, that's kind of what fits me. Then I came up on this song. Turns out it's a man that's singing it, but he's got such a high-pitched voice, it's great. I use that. Pandemic hits. Andy's like, for Rev Pro, it's like, and I was using that for Rev Pro as well. And Andy's like, gotta use a new song. It's got to be in-house. I'm like, no, please. I love this song. Like, no. It's got to be. And I said to him, all that's needed, I just need a woman singing the chorus. Have someone rapping the verses if possible, but a woman singing the chorus.
I've spoken to a lot of the guys, and so many of them have influenced, like, in ring by certain wrestlers. I love that you're so influenced by Christian that even your theme music has to be.
My theme music is absolutely. And so Mikey Ruckus had already made a song independently of he wasn't trying to give a song to a wrestler. He'd already made this song, No Control. Tristan McIntosh, who was the finalist in American Idol, I believe, she's singing it. And he played it to me, and he tries to work me by being like, "You're not gonna like. You might not like it. It's not gonna be the best." I'm listening to him like, "This will do.
This will work."
And now it more than works. I'm like, "Oh my god, I couldn't imagine hearing anything different."
And you shouting "Now We Play" at the beginning.
It's in there. I just said, yeah. As long as you have "Now We Play" at the beginning, and I always had that as a signature for pretty much all of my theme music. I was like, because I might not be able to control what the actual music is. If I could just get me saying "Now We Play" at the beginning, you can't say there's a copyright issue with that.
It's recognisable as you.
Then it's
like
me.
Branding and
right. So that's so. Even though I've changed it a few times, "Now We Play" is always there at the start. But that one, I'm stuck. I want to have that forever as much as possible. But then, and the crowd screams, and using WXW because they're on the network as well. So that one still happens. So there's 3 songs that I basically rotate with, in theory, that I've used this year, and those are the 3.
I haven't spoken to David about this actually, but it meant a lot to me personally when I think it was at your call. It might have been Crystal Palace. It was one of the big Repro shows.
Oh yes,
and you put together the 3 theme songs.
Yeah, that was when I won the title. Yes, that was when the title match.
And there were clips from Purpose in the video, and you had a bit of the song. And I was like, this is cool, for us as well. And it's a cool thing for you to do, to kind of encase 3 kind of facets of your career, I suppose.
It was just the journey. It was the whole journey. I wanted to encapsulate the whole journey from match 1 to that moment where I'm going to become the Grand Slam champion and everything. And it was important to me that I did something like that. I always like trying to address the past and the history, especially because relatively I got to the position I am relatively quickly, and I'm aware of that. There's many negatives with that, in terms of that I still feel like I'm rough around the edges in ring, and there's so many things that I want to work on, and just everything. The positive for me is, for some reason, I was able to get a connection with the fans very quickly, but then also a lot of the fans that I'm still seeing to this day, I recognize seeing their faces in the crowd during my first match. So you want to talk about people following your journey from the very first day and step 1, that's a lot of the fans. So for those fans to also then see the iterations and all the theme musics, and seeing me walk out and change my gears changing and updating, and I'm having all these big matches, and then I come out for the biggest match at that time. Yeah, that was so important to me. And then I throw in all the promotions, all the venues that I've been in and everything. I thought that was, again, a very important part to that entrance.
Just got a couple of things. I want to talk about one more thing in Purpose, because obviously it's part of your career that I probably know the best, as along with Repro. But your ongoing war with not just Nino, but the entire Bryant family.
Right, yes, the family.
Yeah, so I know you and Nino kind of started around the same time. You've had a lot of interaction and time, and you know the Bryants as a whole very well. But honestly, I think the backbone of Purpose from beginning until your untimely exit, which we should probably also talk about because I was involved in it, but it was the rivalry between you and Nino. So you had a kind of a best of 3 with Purpose, but you can't be the only place you guys have obviously wrestled each other.
Yeah.
And I feel like there's something special with you two as opponents.
1,000,000%. That probably comes from, well, he's just infinitely talented. The whole family is talented, which is obviously a frightening prospect. But we've trained together from forever. I didn't realize that 2017 January was. So I started the beginners course at the Projo in 2017. Nino and Danny Black, but Nino started the beginners course in 2017 as well, January. He had trained elsewhere, so he still got more experience than me in terms of wrestling experience, which is, again, so weird because of how much younger he is than me. But that's pro wrestling, that's especially British wrestling. That's British wrestling. Everyone starts at a super young age. 23 apparently is old.
Yeah, I mean, Leland's got more experience than a lot of people who are like main eventing. Like,
very
crazy,
true.
Right?
Yeah, very true. And so I just think that, like, the years upon years that we've been training together, we just know each other so well. We know our strengths and weaknesses without even having to think too hard about it. We know what we're capable of, and more importantly with that, there's a trust in the ring. There's just that trust in the ring. When you train with someone so much, you'll then trust them to you want to try new things, or you want to push each other. I think that happens when you're in there with him. And I know there's so many others, and not just me, but I know just how much potential he has. And when I'm in the ring with someone like him, I want everyone else to see the potential that they have. That's so important for me when I wrestle people that I'm a fan of. I want to showcase them as best as possible. And I feel like the whole, again, I mean, I guess it's at least 2 years, maybe even longer, the whole 2 years of me and Nino having a feud in Purpose, that was, I guess, the goal. The goal was to let the wrestling world, at least in the country, see how good he is. And then on a further note, so that he also knows how good he is. Because I think there's that thing where, like, again, if you're now being on these shows and you want to go on to bigger shows, confidence is such a big thing. And once you have confidence in your ability, I'm telling you, again, use Purpose as a perfect example. You look at Nino making his entrance from some of the earlier shows, and see him making his entrance from the last show with him as champion. There's literally a swagger to how he walks out. There's such a belief in himself. He's like, he knows he's the guy. He knows he's a man. He believes that he is as good as he is. So that, to me, is the coolest thing about what me and Nino have got to do.
I think it was cool that obviously Nino, in the best of three kind of singles, won the belt back from you.
Mm-hmm.
And then you go on to have one final match with Nino that also has Spike Trivet, triple threat. Yeah, so I've never seen a triple threat like that, where it was so smooth and nothing ever felt forced. There was no dumping out the ring. Like, everything felt like it had a flow and a rhythm. And Nino avoiding 2 loads of offense at the same time. And I think you guys put that match together. It was an unreal match. And I think it was just a really good way to, well, as far as we're aware, end your time with Purpose.
Again, think about in the bigger picture what that match is. That's Nino in the ring with who, like, the main champion of RevPro, like, post-pandemic, the person who kind of was the top guy in RevPro, and the guy who was the top champ in Progress. The top 2 promotions in the country, at a time, was their top 2 champions, and Nino fits right in.
You wouldn't have known that he was the odd one out in terms of that.
And that's
it. He hung with you guys so well.
And that's it. He wasn't. That's I think that's, again, back to what I was saying of him believing in himself, and him now the perception of the fans see him as on that level. That match is the best illustration for that, where we were able to put together something that was so unique and so cool, so fun for, I think, the fans to watch and to be a part of as well. You know, that was, yeah, a really good, like, highlight.
And then I got to throw you out.
And then there was that, isn't it? There was that.
Yeah, that was like as a way to exit and maybe put a bow on that character, or that version of the character that you portray. I genuinely, it was like icing on the cake. It was beautiful. I think it was such a good way to say goodbye to Michael Oku at Purpose.
Yeah, again, It's so weird. There's been a lot of send-offy things that have happened this year for one reason or another. A lot of people would see me lose a title and then decided, that's a send-off, obviously. Well, we know why he's lost it and whatever. So there's been weird send-offy moments.
I don't think it helped that you lost 3 titles within like a month.
Yeah, it doesn't help at all. And it just doesn't help that was just what the plans were for each promotion. It was just that was when the title was going to end. Them coinciding with rumors made it odd. But I always thought that, like, I knew the idea would be that I'd be, let's just use the term, written off in purpose. I would have hated if we decided to, just because you might not see him, let's just decide to like him and give him an applause, and let's just pretend as everything is inconsequential. We're just going to clap and applaud and say thank you and be ulterior. I was like, no, this is the opportunity to just do still pro wrestling. Let's give something entertaining for the fans, and let's find a way to do it that still stays true to what I created and we created in purpose. So me being carried out, kicking and screaming with a microphone in my hand is I thought was the best way to go out.
It was so good.
Hey everybody, no, seriously, from the bottom of my heart, I hate every single one.
I need to end the show.
What do you mean you need to go to the show? No, I got spread again! I got spread again!
You lost fair and square, the show's over.
No, I'm gonna bring that!
Security! Please take Michael Oku away.
This is my
And just as a final thing, you were saying it then, why I said that you lost the belts. There was a little run of belt collector Michael Oku, 4 titles.
Yeah.
At one point, I saw you take them on Wrestle Club with
yeah,
friend of purpose, Mark Cram.
Yes, absolutely. No, it was hard to put them all in shape. But I think that's the only time I did one photo shoot with all of them, and then
It was you and Amira in the photo shoot as well, wasn't it?
Yeah,
She
yeah.
had 2 titles herself, right?
Yeah, 2, maybe even more. One was defunct, but I just said put it in there. Who cares? Nobody's going to pay attention. But yeah, no. Again, you would talk about how things were compared to before the pandemic just hit. I feel like title belts or whatever in pro wrestling, but they're a good way to symbolize how things are going, and that photo just kind of encapsulates how my year went. By far the best year of my career, by far the most successful in terms of traveling the world with those titles, winning those titles, some of them not even on land, doing all these unique things and getting to wrestle all these big names, and then again even challenge the titles, like to wrestle MJF for the AEW International title because he wanted to wrestle me. These cool things make it just, it's beyond a shadow of a doubt that this was the best year of my career, and me having all those titles was just, I feel again, just made everybody point at me being like, well, this guy must be something, because all these different places putting stock into him and wanting to put stock into him by him holding their titles, that has to count for something. That has to count for something, having all those titles. And yeah,
it was cool seeing that collection of belts, and you still have one of them left.
I have.
You're about to defend. This will be going out around a similar time. You go out to defend it on the sea. With your close personal friend, Chris Jericho.
The one himself, the Chris Jericho Championship, as I call it. Yeah, no, that's the one I've got left. I mean, I've still got the Who Song Is It Championship. Nobody's challenged me for it.
Oh, you didn't take that belt on the
I didn't take it. I should have. I think I ran out of space. But yeah, still got the Jericho Cruise Championship. It's going to be a tournament to determine who wrestles me.
So you won that tournament last year to face Matt Cardano.
It was only one match. It was just one number one contenders match. Me versus Speedball Mike Bailey on a boat. That was it. And then the winner wrestled Matt Cardona. And again, in between the match with Speedball and the match with Matt Cardona, I just get to wrestle John Morrison, who's someone I was a huge fan of when I was growing up. So to do that and then to beat Zack Ryder, again, someone I was a huge fan of growing up. Stupidly surreal. I tried my best. I tried to do my best Dolph Ziggler impersonation when taking his Rough Rider. Didn't quite do it as well as Dolph Ziggler took it, but I got close. But yeah, it was just an incredible feeling. And now there's going to be 4 people, which includes Elias. Just the fact that I could be wrestling Elias is very funny to me. But yeah, we'll see who does that. But then again, in the meantime, there's a lot of wrestling that's going to be happening. There's going to be wrestling every day on the cruise. I'd be surprised if I'm only wrestling one time on the cruise. So hey, there's loads of AEW wrestlers on the cruise. If I want to wrestle them, there's some rematches there. Takeshita's on the cruise. I wrestled Takeshita at PWG.
An incredible match, by the way. I've seen that.
Thank you. Bobby Lashley's on the cruise. Let's go. You know, who knows? Who knows who I might get to step in the ring with?
Get thrown around. You know who I'd like to see? I don't know if he's there. Speaking of the Hurt Syndicate, if you and Shelton Benjamin could have an absolute banger.
Ooh, I think I put him on my list of earlier this year people, because I think that was when he just got released. And I thought, hey, let's do it. I think he's probably it's wild, right? He's probably doing the best work of his career now.
Absolutely.
So I'm down for that.
All his matches in AEW have been great.
They really have. So,
and on the final note, your match in AEW, it was a dark match, I believe, right?
Yes, correct.
How cool was that moment? I've seen the backstage little clip of you and Amira gearing yourselves up to go out, and then there's the fan footage of someone going absolutely mental when they hear "Now We Play."
Losing their mind.
Yeah, I mean, what a moment, right?
That's what you dream for. But that moment specifically of music hitting and people losing their mind is the moment as a wrestler that you strive for the most, I think, more than anything. So for me to be a surprise, have a match, just a quick match just to warm up the crowd. But that was great that it was that kind of match where there wasn't anything crazy or complicated, because that takes off the pressure of, hey, try and have the greatest match you've ever had. No, it's like, no, you have 6 minutes, go warm up the crowd. Will do, no problem. And then that crowd knowing who I am, knowing who we are, and again, like I said, being so happy. Because it doesn't make it that, it becomes less cool if there's no reaction. They didn't know who it was. It's less cool. But them reacting louder than I thought they would. And that's what that clip is, that backstage clip. It's me just wondering. It's like an extended version of that clip. Of just us wandering around, swaying. Mira's leaning onto my shoulder. We're just breathing. There's a point, I've watched the footage the thing back. To the point where I'm just looking around. I start touching my belt because I'm thinking, what if my belt's upside down? What if it's upside down? You just start thinking of these things. What if my kick pad on? Okay, all good. So those were the only nerves I had. Was like, do I look good? And I hope they react, and they did. So it just made the match smooth sailing.
And what must be cool is getting to do everything you've done post-COVID with Amira.
Yeah, exactly. For her to be on this journey with me, it's so interesting because she's seeing my development. She's seeing kind of the connections that I already had with the fan base, and then me just taking it to new heights. It's great that she's doing it along with me, and then also in turn is making her own connection with the fans, and the fans are really becoming they're loving her. We're always seeing young girls at shows. Now they're starting to come to shows in dresses because they're seeing her. Yeah. We were at OTT. I don't even know if I can tell this story, but we were at OTT and did the stadium show, and at that stadium show, the main event, it's got the Judgment Day on it. So actual Finn Balor is on the show in Ireland, in his home. All famous wrestler Finn Balor is on the show. Can I stress that? All these wrestlers are having, and I had a hell of a match against Eagle Blanc. Okay, some would say it's the best match of the show. Some would say. There's the purpose. But after the show, we're told, me and Amira are at match, and we're told, hey, Finn Balor's nieces would like to see you.
That's so cool.
Not me.
Oh, they want Amira.
Yeah. Amira. They were like, she was our favorite wrestler on the show. She did not wrestle. She did not wrestle. But they just loved. They didn't realize. I was like, we didn't know that you can wear dresses. You're allowed to wear dresses at wrestling. They loved her dress. They loved her, and they wanted to get all the photos in the world of her and everything. They were just enamored by her, and there's a chance that she has in some way inspired those little girls that just happen to be related to famous Uncle Finn Balor.
That's incredible.
So that was a hell of a moment, and that just shows how much you can reach with pro wrestling, and sometimes not even with the actual wrestling. It was an amazing experience.
I think that's a hell of a way to wrap it up, man. Thanks for coming on. Thanks for being number one.
Oh, no problem.
And we're going to go and hang out with a baby for hours and see how that goes.
Absolutely. That's it. Well, I mean, hopefully the baby will be a fan of me.
Everyone else is, apparently. So,
yes, I'm telling you. Except in libraries.
It's too late to say you're sorry.
Thank you for watching the first episode of Making Towns, and thank you to Michael Oku for being my first guest. If you want to follow Michael on social media, he's on X and Instagram at TheOJMO. If you want to follow Making Towns, we are at Making Towns Pod on Instagram and at makingtownspod.bsky.social on Blue Sky. I also co-run Purpose Wrestling. We run every month in Wimbledon in London. You can follow Purpose at Purpose Wrestling on Instagram, at WrestlePurpose on X, and at purposewrestling.bsky.social on Blue Sky. I also have another podcast called Cult Classic Society, all about pop culture, and even a side series about Doctor Who where me and my buddy Tim go over every episode of Doctor Who. You can find the socials for that at CC Society Pod on Instagram and at ccsocietypod.bsky.social on Blue Sky. And if you want to follow me, I am at bdavies_creative on Instagram and at bdavies-creative on Blue Sky. Once again, thank you for watching the very first episode of Making Towns. My guest next time was supposed to be David Francisco, but thanks to an incident involving some Diet Coke and some mint-flavoured chocolate, David now refuses to appear. So instead, I'll be talking to the amazing, the unbreakable Mark True. See you next time.